Hi good lifers, welcome back to the channel where we talk sustainable living, growing your own food and living a more eco-friendly lifestyle. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make your very own natural deodorant from ingredients that you probably have on your pantry shelf. If you're like me, you're probably looking for something that's a little bit more sustainable, a little bit more eco-friendly, just a little bit different from those store-bought deodorants that you can find everywhere else. There's nothing wrong with store-bought deodorants. There is some debate about some of the chemicals and ingredients that are inside them. I always try and go for something that I can make myself if I can. I also found that when I switched to this recipe that I'm going to show you today, that actually it was much better for me anyway. I'll be completely honest, store-bought deodorants don't really work for me that well anyway, so I haven't used them for many decades. I found this recipe probably about 15 years ago I think now, and I switched to it and I've been modifying it for all these years, and I've kind of given it to all sorts of different people that generally they find it quite useful and quite helpful. So today I thought I would share it with you lovely sustainable living enthusiasts and hopefully get you onto something that you can make yourself. You can put it in whatever pot you like and you can modify the ingredients to make it smell just like you want to. So what's the problem with store-bought deodorants? There's nothing inherently wrong with them. I personally don't find that they work as well for me. They might work for you, that's great, but they don't work as well for me. One of my biggest bugbears also is that a lot of the times they come in kind of single-use plastic containers, which I'm not really into. We're trying to reduce our plastic waste as much as possible, so if we can have a container that we can keep refilling, that's great. I've tried lots of different recipes on the market. None of them really work. Again, the aerosol containers as well that you can get, they're not very widely recycled. So it's not something that we like to have in the house because it just means that we're not living our most sustainable life that we can possibly do. We're not perfect, I do understand that. But at the same score, we want to try and do our best to not be bringing in lots of single-use plastics and harmful chemicals into our life. Another thing I've also found with my personal recipe of natural deodorant is that it ends up being very cost effective. Buying the ingredients, some of them you might not have on the shelf, so it might be a little bit of an outlay to begin with, but once you've bought them, it lasts for ages, to be honest. So I'd make probably this deodorant probably every couple of months, at most probably even every 3 months, to be honest. And it lasts for ages. I have a large pot of it that is my normal kind of everyday deodorant, and then I have a little pot that I pop in my bag and it kind of goes with me. So the days that I forget to put deodorant on, or if I'm going out and kind of doing things and I'm feeling like maybe I need to put a little bit of a reapply on, it's in my bag, it's ready to go, it's nice and easy. One thing I have found with using natural deodorant is that it's generally a little bit better for my skin. I found that some of the store-bought deodorants could make my skin feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I don't really like that. I will caveat this video completely and say that a lot of natural deodorant recipes call for just straight bicarb in the recipe. We'll have a look at that in a second. I actually add a neutraliser to my deodorant because I found that a straight bicarb recipe made my skin really sore. So I'm going to add a little neutraliser so that it's actually a little bit more gentle on my skin. And this is one of the great things about making your own, is the fact that if you find something that doesn't work for you, you can just go and change it and modify it and make your own recipe up, which is exactly what I've done here. So with the intro aside, let's see if we can move over onto the work surface and see if we can make your natural deodorant. So this is the recipe that's worked for me for many years. You will need around about 2 tablespoons of bicarbonate of soda, around about 2 tablespoons of arrowroot powder, that goes in here. Around about 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. This is extra virgin coconut oil, you can see it here. It's really nice, it's all organic, lovely to use. I get mine from a really nice seller who always sends me really high quality stuff, so I'm pleased about that. I'm going to be adding in some essential oils. You can see, you can't really see them, but they're in this little pot here. And because we're getting to a slightly warmer part of the year, hopefully, I'm going to add in a little bit of, this is shea butter. With shea butter it can smell a bit weird, but it doesn't once it's in the ingredients, so it's fine. The reason I add shea butter, as you can tell, it's a lot harder. Let me try and get that in focus here for you. Shea butter's a lot harder than coconut oil, so when you're making a deodorant for in the summertime, sorry, you want something that's going to be able to keep that a lot harder. With the coconut oil, this one here, although it's hard at room temperature, it's also very, very soft and it melts very, very easily, which is great because that's exactly what you want on your skin. But it does mean that if it's really warm weather, you end up with deodorant that can go liquid at room temperature, which is not really what we want. We do want it to be a kind of a nice, easy, spreadable consistency, but at the same score, hard enough so that it holds itself together. If you're in a really, really warm climate, what I might suggest is pop some beeswax in it. These are just beeswax pellets that I've got here. Use them for all sorts of bits and pieces. If you're a vegan, then you can get soy wax pellets, so you don't have to use beeswax. So apart from that, this recipe is completely vegan, which is kind of cool really, if that's what you're into. The only other things you're going to need is a glass bowl and a spoon to mix it. So my spoon's got all the bits and pieces in it already. So glass bowl, spoon to mix it, and a saucepan filled with water. You can do this in a microwave as well, so if you don't want to pop the gas on and use a saucepan filled with water, that's absolutely fine too. Okay, so this recipe is really simple. Simply pop your ingredients into your glass bowl here. Okay, nice and easy. The only one you might have problems with is the shea butter here, because it's quite solid. It can be a little bit tricky to mix, so I'm going to pop this in the microwave just for a minute or two, just to soften it up a little bit. But you'll see that the coconut oil is actually fairly soft as it is. So you're just going to kind of soften it up a little bit more. It doesn't need to be super soft at this level because we are going to warm it up to make it even better. Okay, so we've got the coconut oil a little bit softer, a little bit more movable. I've just popped the shea butter in the microwave, as you can see now, a lot more kind of soft and malleable. I'm going to pop that in there as well, and then I'm going to just pop everything in there with the spoon there, and just kind of mash it together a little bit. As I say, it doesn't need to be perfect, just mash it together a little bit so that you can kind of get them moving a bit. This step isn't even strictly necessary. I just find it kind of helps the coconut oil to warm up a little bit. Then you're going to pop in your powders. So I've got some bicarbonate of soda here, just standard bicarb that you can get on the shelf. Pop it in. I do like to just kind of make sure there's not any large lumps in there. You can do this with a sieve, but do you think that I could find my sieve when I went to record this film today? Nope. The next ingredient you want to use is arrowroot powder. Now, some recipes will tell you you can use corn flour for this, or cornstarch for our American friends. I don't find that corn flour works as well. I also have heard reports, although it's not happened to me personally, that corn flour can lead to some nasty infections, which we obviously don't want to be encouraging. So I would skip the corn flour and just go straight for arrowroot powder. As I say, it's always worked for me. Mix it in a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. We are going to mix it in properly in a bit. The last ingredient I'm using is magnesium oxide powder. Now, I get this online. This is probably something you're not going to find in your local grocery shop or supermarket. But this is the stuff that helps to neutralise the bicarb. It allows the bicarb to keep working, but it means that it's not going to burn your skin. So again, pop it in there. Oops, now I've got that all over me, great. And just kind of pop it in. It would be a lot easier if you had a sieve, but as I said, mine appears to have run away the day that I wanted to film something that includes using a sieve. So just pop that in there nice and easy. You can do, if you feel comfortable, get your hands in there. I don't like to get my hands in there because it's just that it's a bit oily. So mix it all up a little bit. Again, you're not looking for it to be absolutely perfect, you're just looking for it to be a little bit mixed up. The last thing that we're going to pop in there is your essential oils. You can change these depending on what you want to put in there. There's lots of different stuff. I would definitely kind of put neem oil in there and tea tree oil if you can, just because they are really good for helping neutralise bacteria, and it's bacteria that causes the odour. But other bits and pieces in there, we always put patchouli in ours because both of us really love the smell of patchouli, which is quite nice. I always pop a little bit of lavender in there and rosemary, it's good for your skin. little bit of tea tree, and I've got a particular perfume oil that I absolutely love from the perfume people called American Dreamer. Smells like milkshakes. It's absolutely gorgeous, so I always pop a little bit of that in there as well. So you might as well have deodorant that smells nice, right? Okay, cool. Once that's all kind of a little bit mixed up, again, you're not going to get it all mixed perfectly. What you would then do is pop this bowl onto a double boiler. So we're going to pop it into a saucepan with some water, and then heat it up really gently. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm actually just going to pop it in the microwave and warm it up a little bit, just because it's quicker. So I'll see you in a second. So that was 10 seconds in the microwave at full power. Again, I'm just going to start to move it around. You can start to see now that it really is beginning to melt down a little bit, which is exactly what we want to see. We're just going to mix it around a little bit more. It's going to need a little bit more time, and that's okay. So we'll pop it in for probably another 20 seconds, because as you can see here, it's definitely a bit on the solid side still. Okay, so this has been in for about 20 seconds now. You can see that it's definitely a little bit more liquid now. That's all right. Again, it doesn't really matter too much. Probably a little bit more liquid than I would have hoped for, but I'll know next time not to put it in for 20 seconds, only put it in for 10 seconds. So what you want to do now is mix it around and try and just get rid of any of those lumps. The ideal consistency is kind of like cake mix, but this is a little bit more liquid, but that's okay. We're going to try and just get rid of those lumps. Those lumps are probably going to be your shea butter, to be honest, because your coconut oil melts a lot better than shea butter does. So just mix it around like this. And you should begin to notice everything is nice and mixed together. Now, some people think that your powders are going to dissolve into your deodorant. That doesn't happen. So if we don't keep this well mixed while it's setting, it will actually separate, which we don't want, because then you get to the end of your deodorant and it's really, really strong, and that can cause you some sore bits on your arms, on your underarms. So mix it in nicely like this. Then you're going to find yourself a pot to put it in. So I've had this pot for probably decades, to be honest. I know it's a plastic pot, but I had the very first coconut oil I ever bought actually was in this pot, and it just so happens that I've kept reusing it. So all I'm going to do now is take my deodorant that I've mixed here. So everything should be nice and mixed in. I've got a little bit extra there. And then I'm going to pour it into this pot. If you've got a little bit of extra, that's okay. You can pop it in another pot. So you should see, kind of just about see it there. I'm going to do it over there because I'm going to spill it. You can just see the deodorant in there. It's a little bit lumpy because it's still got some coconut oil in there, but that doesn't matter too much. So deodorant in a pot like that, stick the lid on, and then we're going to go and pop it in the fridge. So that's in the fridge, and all I'm going to do with the bit that is left over, again, is just pop it into this jar here. Stick it all in there nicely. If you are using the magnesium oxide powder, you will see that it's a slightly kind of peachy brown colour. That's from the magnesium oxide powder. It's absolutely fine, but if you are looking for a kind of bleached white colour, you're not going to get it with this powder, because that's what colour the powder is. Again, so we've now got this in a nice jar, and I'm going to pop this in the fridge. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we put it in the fridge, we kind of go back to it every half hour or so, just give it a bit of a mix, a bit of a stir. If it wasn't quite as liquid, we wouldn't have to do that, but because I've made mine a little bit more liquid than I intended to, I'm going to have to keep mixing it just while it sets. And there we go. Hopefully that was nice and easy for you to follow. I'll come back to the deodorant in a couple of hours and see what consistency it is, and then we can have a look at how to spread it and how to make it usable for you. So it's been a couple of hours. I've got my deodorants out of the fridge. I may have left them in there a little bit longer than intended, but it doesn't really matter. So you can see now that our deodorant in here is nice, and it's already kind of solidified like that. You can just see inside it there. There we go. You can see it's nice and solid. The bits on top is just kind of leftover coconut oil. We don't have to worry about that too much. Using the deodorant's really easy. You just pop in and grab a little bit out of it. I'm using a spoon at the moment because I've literally just got it out of the fridge, so it's quite solid. But once it's actually warmed up to room temperature, it'll be a little bit easier to spread. So you can see I've got kind of about a pea-size amount on there. And that, you literally just rub it onto your skin. So if I'm going to show you really quickly with just a little tiny bit on the back of my hand here. So get your deodorant and then just rub it onto your skin like that. You'll notice that as soon as you start rubbing, it kind of disappears straight away. You can see it there. Let's move that over so you can see it. So you can't see it. You will have a little bit of an oily consistency, but apart from that, it's absolutely fine. And then smells really good. And hopefully should smell slightly better than body odour, which is what we're trying to get rid of with this. And that is it. Making your own natural deodorant at home really is that simple. I will be completely honest and say that it might take a little bit of adjustment for your body with natural deodorant. It can take up to about 2 weeks to adjust, and in that 2 weeks you might seem a little bit more stinky than normal, but I promise you, after that period of time has passed, you will be absolutely amazed with how well this works, especially for how cheap it is and how good it is for you. Most people don't take a full 2 weeks. I think it took me about 3 or 4 days of, yes, completely staying inside my own house and not going out anywhere, but honestly it was worth it. The only other thing I might say is that sometimes it can leave a little bit of residue on your clothing. If you do find that you've got a little bit of extra residue on your clothing, then you might want to just kind of do a little bit of spot cleaning before you pop them in the washing machine. I've been using this deodorant since I was about 16. Honestly, it has been absolutely a life changer and I really, really love it. So I'm happy to share it with you folks. So that was our recipe for making natural deodorant. We've actually written a blog post all about natural deodorant. I'll leave the link in the description below. And if you don't want to make your own, there's actually some really good links to some, including this brand here, Scrubber. They are really, really good. They come in cardboard packaging and they smell really amazing too. And they work really well. I keep one on hand just for days when I've either run out of my own deodorant or I just fancy a bit of a change. But thank you very much for joining us. If you liked today's video, please drop us a comment below and tell us what you enjoyed about it. Maybe think about liking the video, and if you want to subscribe, that would be even better. But until then, we will see you in the next video.